30 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock in Trinidad and Tobago. Our conversation continues this morning, particularly around fireworks. Regardless of the fact that there will be no official fireworks display this year, given precedent, we do know that some members of the public will be engaging in private fireworks. So this morning, Dr. Paul Crooks joins us to discuss the safety of our pets at this time. Good morning, Dr. Crooks.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you back on back on the show with us this morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Wonderful. So let's get straight into the conversation. Before we get into perhaps more details of the cancellation and collaborations moving forward, what can we do to secure and safeguard our pets and livestock with the fact that there may still be private firework displays?
All right. So my recommendation is usually the same as if we were expecting a hurricane. One is that your animal should be permanently identified as far as possible. That may include the use of a microchip. It may include the use of a tag, or perhaps even you might want to put Apple, what is it called? The tracker, GPS tracker, a tag on your animal so that you can, an ear tag, there you go, so that you can follow your animal's location. Of course, all of those identification methods are contingent on the animal maintaining them on or about their body if they are applied on the outside. So that is something that you'll have to bear in mind. Otherwise, I recommend you take photos of your animals just in case the animals go missing, which is a possibility. And so we go backward from missing, which is perhaps the worst case scenario, to the animal being kept in your environment, but still experiencing anxiety as a result of fireworks. And in such a case, we recommend that the animal is not kept in a tethered place, so not tied, that the animal is kept in a secure location as far as possible that prevents it from escaping. Now, owners of pets know which animals tend to be panicky or anxious around the time of fireworks. However, owners of livestock may not be so aware. But livestock, the majority of the livestock that we have here, they do enjoy community with other animals of the same type. So basically, if you have all your sheep together, generally they will respond better than if you have animals that are isolated. So our recommendation is keep animals together. If you don't have identification, photograph the animals, and then also attach a form of permanent identification, generally just in case they escape.
Okay, Dr. Crooks. So it's definitely, I guess, two incredible differences yet the same when it comes to your indoor pets, your home pets, and your livestock, particularly because with pets, especially many times people will bring them inside. They will look at all the different things we see on social media as to how we're going to be able to keep them calm. What are the proper recommendations and the safest recommendations for dealing with an anxious pet at home during the fireworks?
Very good question. So we generally we recommend that you consult your veterinarian. The reason being is that if your animal, for example, needs medical assistance in the control of the response to anxiety, that comes with the discussion with your vet. There are many different interventions that may be taken from a chemical standpoint. For example, there is now some science that supports that maybe CBD oil, which is, of course, relatively new in medicine. CBD oil may assist with anxious animals or stressed animals. We know that there are other scents, such as lavender and so on, chamomile, that may provide some therapy to animals that are undergoing anxious states. We also know that there are sedative drugs that may be used for animals whose response may be so extreme, where the animal may harm itself, potentially others, in trying to escape, trying to dig, biting itself, that the owners would know that there's need for further support from a veterinarian. But always have a good relationship with your vet and discuss what the possibilities are. Now, generally, if your animal's never displayed anxiety before and you're just now seeing it for the first time, or if you don't even know what to look for and you don't even know if to reach for a vet per se, or if this is something of concern, what animals do when they are anxious, and especially due to loud or noisy stimuli. We're looking at an animal typically that would shake or tremble, an animal that seeks a place to hide, a place of refuge, and that place may be a very unusual place. Sometimes it's a place that they go all the time, but usually it's like hiding behind a couch or somewhere very unusual. Maybe they just keep digging and digging or trying to bury themselves under something. Those are the indications that the animal is anxious. And then as the owner, you have a few options. One, your presence provides comfort for sure. But also if you take the animal onto your lap, you squeeze the animal, a nice tight hug, that also brings a sense of calm to the animal. But remember, until the stimulus eventually goes away, the animal may still display those fearful behaviors. So, again, going back to safeguarding, this is where it comes down to providing a safe space for the animal, a place for the animal that it can't escape, especially cats will find a way out if there's a way out. So you have to provide a safe space for the animal, maybe a small carrier or kennel, provide scents, toys that bring them comfort, and of course, your presence as the owner all support. Otherwise, talk to your veterinarian about medications.
Dr. Crooks, as you mentioned, speaking to your veterinarian, just going back to our animals and their reactions, particularly their physical reactions, are there any reactions that would be so violent that they could be deemed abnormal? For example, maybe a smaller dog violently starting to shake during these fireworks. Is this something that we would say, okay, this is anxiety and we can just hold her or him? Or is it something that we should speak to the vet about and say this may be abnormal and needs treatment?
It really depends. And this is where you discuss with your vet anyway. No matter once you have a query about the care of the animal, speak to your veterinarian. So, regarding the anxiety, we know that there are animals that may dig at surfaces or paw at surfaces until they bruise their paws. Normally, they wouldn't lash out, they wouldn't snap or bite at an owner or another animal, but they may if they are put into a state of fear and they are responding to a stimulus that they don't expect. So if the animal is hiding behind the couch and something suddenly surprises the animal there, the animal may snap or bite, being in an already fearful state. So these are the kinds of things that you need to look out for. But generally, the dogs, if we're talking dogs, even cats, are not going to intentionally harm the owner, nor are they going to intentionally harm other animals that they're familiar with. If that happens, that's because of a fear-based response. And again, the severity of anxiety, normally we don't see anything that requires medical intervention if the anxiety is something that is a one-off because of a noisy stimulus. There are patients who we consider to be anxious patients, and there are medical treatments that are considered for patients who have issues with ongoing anxiety. But if it's just as a result of thunder or fireworks, some loud stimulus, then usually we don't take any medical intervention there.
Now, Dr. Crooks, we've touched on the mental effects that would come from fireworks, loud noises, as you would have mentioned, thunder. What about the physical effects that fireworks can have on animals?
Right. Very good question again. So remember here, we're primarily talking about pets and livestock. However, there are other animals that are affected by fireworks as well, including wildlife. And there was a joint statement put out, while I speak on behalf of the Trinidad and Tobago Veterinary Association, there was a joint statement that was put out by the Trinidad and Tobago Vet Association alongside many other NGO groups as part of a statement regarding fireworks on the whole and generally saying that we agree with the idea that the fireworks are not allowed this year or not being used this year, even though we know that the purpose had nothing to do with animals per se. Now, the reason being is that wildlife, for example, also may display anxious behaviors. However, we also know that there are birds that fly through the sky when fireworks are being used. And not only are we scaring these birds away, but of course, birds may be injured. And this is where we come down to what are the physical dangers of fireworks. Any explosive or incendiary device produces heat, and that heat alone can cause burning damage. But what's more is that many of these incendiary devices and the ones that we would say, please don't use, are ones that have explosive effects, including things like scratch bombs. And even though fireworks have been the fireworks show, the national fireworks show, the government-sponsored or state-sponsored show is no longer happening this year. We know that people are still going to buy and participate in recreational firework use. And while we have at the Trinidad and Tobago Vet Association for many years requested that fireworks be used in only certain designated areas, we also know that does not happen. What that means is that someone potentially could throw a scratch bomb in your yard and your dog can run and grab the scratch bomb. And these types of things happen. Not only that, we have persons, people who are handling the fireworks, who are, at least in the United States for sure, every year for Independence Day are injured. Many of them are injured because of mishandling of fireworks. So remember that your pets, animals around you, wildlife, have no idea what these things are. None. So while you are mindful and you may take the risk in handling these devices, and you may also accept that you are able to control and respond to it appropriately, the animals will not necessarily do so. So of course you're going to have, again, because of anxiety, you might have animals who are more likely to have heart attacks as a result of a loud, sudden noise, but also you have the physical trauma associated with it. You have animals who may lose hearing, you have animals that are burned, and you have animals that experience open wounds. And as a result, you'll have to take several steps to try to address that or remedy that. But generally, these are the reasons why we would recommend using them away from animals, away from children, and using them with extreme caution.
Dr. Crooks, as you mentioned, a remedy for that, speaking about the physical effects or injuries that may happen to animals when fireworks are used. Many times, if it does happen, it's not a case of being able to go to the vet right away, given the time of night it may have happened. So what can we do in the first instance to, let's just say, keep them as safe as possible until we can get them to a vet?
All right, so two things. One is that at least when the National Fireworks Show occurred, we would have had an idea of when the fireworks show would start. And therefore, if you were using a sedative or if you were preparing the animals, putting them into a space, you know when to do it. You know when to give the sedative, or you know when to put them in the cage, or what have you, depending on your strategy. And because, unfortunately, now we are in a position where we expect just recreational fireworks from private citizens, it means that that could happen at any time of day, any time of night, unfortunately. And it means, therefore, that it is incredibly difficult to know when to start preparing. Certainly, once you hear the first bang, please take necessary precautions to help your animals, safeguard your animals, keep them safe and healthy. Now, if the animals experience injury, the typical management is just like any other wound first aid. You want to clean the wound carefully with soap and water. You can't go wrong that way. Clean the wound carefully with soap and water. In case of severe bleeding, you also can use ice wrapped in a towel and apply the ice to the area. What ice causes, because ice is very cold, is potent vasoconstriction. The blood vessels squeeze up to stop the blood flow to the area so that your body temperature does not decrease. And therefore, when you apply ice to an area, because of that reduced blood flow, you have reduced bleeding. So you wrap a towel and you wrap ice in a towel and you apply the towel to the bleeding area for about 30 seconds, release for 10, apply for 30 again, release for 10. What you want is that blood clots form and that the bleeding stops. And again, these are interventions that you take in the case that you are unable to get a veterinarian at the time. If you are able to get your vet, definitely call or WhatsApp immediately if an injury occurs. Depending on the severity, they may need to come out immediately. But in the meanwhile, make sure the wounds are kept clean and the animal is kept safe and comfortable as far as possible.
Oh, Dr. Crooks, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we've ran out of time, but knowing you'll be back again soon and we can continue these important conversations about our furry friends. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you.
Dr. Paul Crooks, Media Liaison from the Trinidad and Tobago Veterinary Association this morning, joining us speaking about firebreaks and animal safety. Stay tuned. There's more coming up on the Now Morning Show after this quick break.
She said, she said, let me cater to you. I say, cater to me. She said, just relax and let me give it to you. No, no, no. She said, take it.